Okay, so is that okay if I do the opening prayer? Or is someone else feeling it? Okay, I'll do it. So let us all close our eyes and take a deep, deep breath and exhale. And as we keep breathing, let us visualize this beautiful divine light getting into our heads and cleaning our thoughts, cleaning our vision, cleaning our ears, and prepping us for us to elevate our thoughts, elevate our heart and our vibration. First, to our mentors, which we are extremely grateful for helping us to be here. Then to the mentors of this group, to the mentors of BSH, and to our Master Jesus Christ, who came on earth to help us to improve who we are. Thank you so very much, dear Jesus. Thank you for all the benevolent spirits that supports us in this beautiful journey of inner renewal. May all of us, in both incarnate and discarnate realm, be connected by ties of love, so we can all reflect together on how we can absorb these lessons that will support us to work on our inner transformation. We ask for guidance, blessings, and protection, and we humbly ask for permission to open today's study. And so be it.
And so it is. Thank you.
All right. So, welcome everyone to the Inner Transformation class. Today we will talk about a very interesting topic, not this one. Where is it? Yeah, I'm sorry. Um, so today we'll talk about forgiveness, mercy, and tolerance, which is connected to moderation. I know it is written here that this is lesson 6, but in reality we are in lesson 8. We just switched materials. Um, this is a pretty long material for us, but I don't want to rush, so I will go in our pace. Please feel free to jump in, make comments, ask questions, share your experiences, and if needed, we will just continue next week. But let's talk about forgiveness. Is it too small for you to sit this way?
Yes,
It is. I can change it.
it is.
It is, right? We don't need that. All right, so
Good.
let's okay, thank you, Mosen. So let's start with Jesus on the Sermon of the Mountain. And he said to us, "Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy." So, according to Matthew, he said, "Mercy is the complement of meekness, because whoever is not merciful cannot be meek and peaceable. Mercy consists in forgetting and forgiving offenses. Forgetting offenses is proper for the advanced soul to forget offenses and to be above the insults that might be directed towards it. And it also reminds me about Jesus when Jesus was in the cross. And remember that he said, "Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they do." And this is interesting because it's not that Jesus said, "I forgive you." He said, "God, forgive them." So Jesus was above the offense. He didn't even take the offense because he knew that those who were persecuting him were not, they didn't know what they were doing. So for us to be merciful, we have to forgive. And forgiveness is very much connected to be compassionate and to be charitable. So when thinking about what charity means by Jesus' understanding, and this is a question from the Spirit's book, what is the true meaning of the word charity? So the answer is benevolence towards everyone, indulgence towards the imperfections of others, and forgiveness for all offenses. Now, if Jesus is suggesting us to be meek, for us to be compassionate, and what we are understanding by how to be compassionate towards our brothers and sisters is to be benevolent towards everyone, we should not say it's not up to us to make judgments about someone's right or wrong doings. In fact, they suggest us to be indulgent towards the imperfections of others, including ours, and then forgive for all the offenses, because yet each one of us is in our road to progress. So we are all prone to errors and not. So how many times do we pay for one mistake? The answer is thousands of times. The material tells us that humans are the only animals on earth who pay 1,000 times for the same mistake. And it's funny because, how many of us have done the same mistake over and over? And sometimes we even say, I can't believe I did this again. And we do. Because every time that we remember, we judge ourselves again and we feel hurt again. That prompts us to feel guilty, and then we punish ourselves over and over. And this can be a very dangerous path. For those who were able to watch our speak on BSH last Sunday, we were discussing about how careful we all should be about being hurt, about hurt someone, because we can feel the hurt coming from someone, or we can feel guilty. And if we do not change this emotion, this will just come a spiral of other bad emotions. So we have to be very careful with that. And here they brought us a very interesting example. A wife or a husband may also remind us of our mistakes, so that we end up judging ourselves, punishing ourselves, and finding ourselves guilty yet again. And then the question is it fair? Every time we remember the mistake, we blame them again and send them all the emotional poison we feel at the injustice. And then we make them pay again for the same mistake. So what is it telling us? Don Miguel Ruiz is telling us that it's just giving us an example of someone that lives close to you. And this person, just like all of us, makes the same mistake over and over. And then instead of us supporting the person, what we do is we point fingers. We keep saying, you are doing this again. I told you already. How come you are doing this? And then every time that we point finger, we are not only reminding the other person about the mistake, but we are also bringing all this emotional poison that will contribute for this person to feel guilty. And this poison is also going to contribute for us to feel the negative emotions that we are carrying about that situation. In the other hand, if we truly forgive, we will not bring that back over and over, even if the person is making the same mistake again. At the end of this chapter, we will hear a message from Chico Xavier, and I'm just going to anticipate that because it makes sense. There was this day, one lady, she came to Chico Xavier and said, "Hey Chico, I'm having this struggle at my house. I keep fighting with my family. I can't stop forgiving them." And then Chico said, "My daughter, haven't you heard about Jesus that said that we should forgive others' mistakes not 7 times, but 70 times 7? And she said, "Well, by my account, I forgave them already more than 400 times. And then the answer was, Emmanuel is right beside me, and what he's telling is that what Jesus meant is that you had to forgive 70 times 7 each mistake. So it's not all of them. So for each mistake someone give to you, you forgive that one 70 times 7.
So that's meant for you to forget the count, right?
Exactly.
Start
Stop
over.
counting. Exactly. So start by not counting. That is a good start already. Um, so, oops. Um, so what we really should be thinking about, and here we were just talking about how it brings all this emotional poison, right? Whenever we feel like we have this poison inside of us, this is going to start manifesting in so many different ways. It will bring up a version of us that is not a good version. It's a negative version because we are hurt, because we are just prepared for the mistake that the other person is going to do maybe again. One thing that we can't forget is that we should recognize that it's not our job, and we have no right to repeatedly punish another person or ourselves for making a mistake. As a human being, it is only your job to forgive, to love, to heal, and to grow, and of course, to forgive. Because we are all here to learn. We are in a road of progress. So it's completely natural that we will all make mistakes. Of course, that the more conscient we are about who we are, who we want to be, the less we will repeat those mistakes. But that doesn't mean that by having that spiritual conscience, we should be the ones judging the others, because we are all hand to hand in this road of progress. So we should never think about pointing fingers to anyone. And there's this beautiful statement saying to forgive is to set a prisoner free and discover that the prisoner was you. This is from a known author, and this makes so much sense, because every time that we feel like we are putting someone in a cage, in reality that's us not being able to set our hands free to that specific situation or that specific feeling that we felt that hurt us. So at the end of the day, we are imprisoning ourselves into a very bad situation that happened now, yesterday, or many lives ago. So the more we are able to release, the more we will be free. And as we free ourselves from all this poison, one of the things that we will start manifest is our best version. And our best version is just perfect as God created us. It's healthy in so many different levels. People who forgive others experience reduction in feelings of nervousness, restlessness, and hopelessness. And it's natural, right? Teresa, you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that story you told about Chico and the lady. So another version I heard was the same thing, but that the woman kept kind of pressing, like, she wanted some guarantee that she wouldn't have to be with this man again. And finally, Emmanuel said to Chico, tell her, until you can be in the same room with someone and not like have your skin crawl, that you will keep reincarnating, with them until you can be at peace kind of within yourself. So I thought that was, it's a good measure to know, have I really forgiven someone? When I walk in the room or I see their face, how does my body react? I think it's a way we can kind of measure that.
Absolutely, sister. Thank you for bringing that up, because this is really connected also to what we are saying here. Because whenever we are not forgiving someone, we keep carrying that poison with us. So, to your point, when we forgive, if we encounter that person, we are not going to feel anything anymore, right? And yeah, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing. The other piece of advice that they tell us is that forgiveness lowers the blood pressure and heart rates and reduces chronic pain and symptoms from anxiety, depression, or stress. Friends, how many of us know people, sometimes very close to us, that are suffering from all of this? Either chronic pain or anxiety, especially right now during pandemic, depression, stress, and all of this is somehow connected to something that we were not able to forgive, even if that means not to forgive ourselves. But and I read this. Oh yeah, I read this in the gospel yesterday or the day before. Um, that all of this is in result of us lacking peace. So whenever we are lacking peace, we are looking for something from the outside into the inside. So then we are looking for more friends, we are looking for more activities, or we are just so without energy that we can't do anything. All of those are signs that there is something in us that is hurting. There is something in us that is not filled with peace. And that's when we end up with manifesting all this illness in our body. Any mental or physical distress you feel now about a situation or grudge comes from current hurt feelings, not from the original offense or hurt experienced in the past. Because in reality, what happens is that usually we are now suffering for something that happened in the past. Sometimes many, many years ago, sometimes even lives ago. And we keep feeling that. And the reason why is because we are carrying that situation. That situation is not happening right now anymore. But we are still there. Again, we are imprisoning ourselves in a situation that happened in the past. And we keep carrying that with us. And one thing that we must be extremely careful about is that negative emotions are also recorded in our cellular memory. They remain constantly in the background, affecting our health, producing traumas and emotional blockages. For those who are able to come with us on the introduction to Spiritism, we always studied the universal fluid, right? So the universal fluid is exactly the fluid that connects us with everything else, especially with our next incarnations. And when we carry those emotions, those negative emotions, this is already imprinted in our memory, in our perispirit, in our fluid, and we keep bringing this fluid with us. So this is something that if we do not make an effort to let it go, we will keep carrying it over and over. So we have to be extremely careful with those emotions that we are bringing, because those bring cellular memories. And it's funny because sometimes, like when you meet someone and say, oh, I don't like the person, and I don't know exactly what is that. It's not only about the attunement, because sometimes we just have like not compatible energies and thoughts, but also because for some reason we might have had a bad experience with that person in other lives, and we are carrying that to this lifetime. So whenever we encounter someone that for whatever reason we do not have a good experience, that's when we must pray for that person, releasing him or her for whatever situation that we might have had in the past. And this is good for all of our different layers of health, right? we take care of our nutritional health. We try to eat healthy. I'm sure all of us do it as much as possible. We don't eat junk food. Nobody eat French fries here. But being serious, we
Not
all
telling.
right? But we are all looking for to be to we are all looking for some level on our nutritional health. We are always looking for at some level to our physical health, and our emotional health. And all of this is somehow connected to forgiveness. So, in the next couple of slides, we will see some researches and things and suggestions on how we can keep up with forgiveness and how all of this influences on our physical body. Oops. Are we all on the same page? Does anyone want to share any experience or anything? Make any comment? No? All right. So we will start with this research, very interesting one from Dr. Fred Luskin. And unfortunately, this website doesn't exist anymore, Learning to Forgive. I would love if it exists. But I'm pretty sure that the book is still, we can still find the book. And the researches are very, very interesting. And it talks about the benefits of the forgiveness and how it all influences in our body. And this is from a scientific research. So we are talking here not only about the spiritual and the emotional level, but how all of this is connected to our body. And things that we must keep in mind is that, and we hear from Dr. Fred, is that the practice of forgiveness has been shown to reduce anger, hurt, depression, and stress, and it leads to a greater feeling of hope, peace, compassion, and self-confidence. And I wonder, why is that? Why do we think that by forgiving someone we are more prompt to feel hope, peace, compassion, and self-confidence?
You know, one of the things I think is that when you don't want to forgive anybody, that means you're pretty pissed off at them. You're angry at something that they did. And what happens is that you consistently repeat in your mind the scenario that was created, which is enforcing that same hurt and pain. And so when you do decide to let that go, all of these layers that, starts peeling off of there, and you can start to breathe. But, it does take a lot of courage, in my opinion, to forgive a person.
Yep.
You really have to step up and want to change in your own life and your personal space.
Yep. Yeah, that's amazing, sister. And I totally agree with you. It takes a lot of courage. And it's not easy. Sometimes we just go over some very strong things, and I can feel and gladly, and I've never been through something so bad, but I feel like, what about people that suffer abuse? Like, how do you forgive that? That is really hard. And we are not saying that this is something that we just have to be compassionate and just let it go. We have to treat that on ourselves because we were hurt. And we are not saying that our feeling must just be buried. Completely the opposite. We're going to see here. But we must face that, because when we do, we find something that any other situation will give us, which is peace. As you were saying, Gina, I totally agree. Those are layers that they kind of suffocate us, and they don't allow us to breathe and to
Yeah.
release.
And there's just another scenario. When I was in 8th grade, these girls attacked me. And to the day, I don't know what that's about. And I feel so good that I don't hate them. I don't even know what their face look like. That's how much I care. And so the other day, um, after I dropped Kalia off at school, I witnessed these girls jumping another girl.
Mm.
And I felt so bad, for the girl.
Mm-hmm.
And all the traffic was stopped. And so I had to go around and come back, and I found her. And she just was sitting on the sidewalk, just boo-hooing. And so I asked her, was she okay? And she said, I don't even know these girls. I don't know what's going on, and I just let her talk and talk and talk. And she said, they have been bothering me one of them had been bothering her for a long time. And she said her mother had gotten a restraining order against them. So
Wow.
I asked her, did she want me to take her to school? She said no. I said, do you want to call the police? She said no. Do you want to go to the school where they are so we can, finish dealing with it? She said no. And I just said, okay. And I let her be. But before I left, I said to her, please, whatever you do, don't hate. Let go of the hatred. I said, because hate only creates cancer. You don't want that. And she just looked at me. And I mean, looked at me. I said, yeah, you heard me. And I'm hoping she let it go. Later in life, it may resonate with her, but I'm hoping she lets it. That's all I said to her. I didn't preach about spirituality and all that stuff.
That's beautiful, sister. I'm so glad that you were able to talk to her, because this might be that very specific moment that you just planted a good seed and made her rethink about all the feelings and emotions that she was thinking. And you might have changed the course of her life. Not changed, but I influenced her to think about in a very good way. So
Or even search out why,
yeah,
which would be good.
yeah. And what they tell us is that practicing forgiveness leads to healthy relationships as well as physical health. It also influences our attitudes, which opens the heart to kindness, beauty, and love. So, if I may, Gina, using your example, imagine if you were still carrying hate about those same girls that attacked you. Imagine if you bring a message of hate to this girl that suffered the same. Imagine all the difference that could have done. And then in the opposite, you turn that into something that you were able to refresh that emotion inside of you. And then you were able to find love in a very painful moment for her and for you, because I'm pretty sure it hurts to see someone crying for something that is completely unfair. And this also reminds me about something that is extremely important, and we are also making a study around that, which is gratitude. If we are able to turn around the sentiments that we are feeling, and we are able to find kindness, beauty, and love, we start being grateful about these small things, and then we are able to see how we can learn and how we can get the best out of each situation. So it is extremely important. And again, we are doing a study on how important gratitude is. And forgiveness and gratitude are very much connected, right? Very much connected. Yeah, sure, sister. So, Dr. Fred invites us to think about a couple of things on which are the steps that you should take for you to be able to forgive. So, the first thing that he brings to us is know exactly how you feel about what happened and be able to articulate what about the situation is not okay. Then tell a trusted couple of people about your experience. So, this is the first step, because we have to acknowledge. Again, it's not for us to bury our emotions. If we bury them, they will be inside of our heart at some level, and that's not forgiveness. And that's one of the reasons why I love so much psychology, and that's why I love so much therapy, because it helps us to assess some emotions that might be buried in us without us even noticing that. And it is important. It's the very first step for us to forgive, is to acknowledge, to know that there was an issue and that's not okay. Then the second step, according to Dr. Fred Luskin, is to make a commitment to yourself to do what you have to do for you to feel better. And remind us that forgiveness is for you and not for anyone else. So if whatever situation to make you feel better is for you to make up for a person on something that you did wrong, or to make up for yourself, be sure that you know what will help you to feel better, and do that. And know that even if for you to feel better, you want to talk to someone, it is not up to the other person. It's not up to you to have the other person forgiving you. This is on the other person. Remember that we can only be accountable for something that we can do. We do not control how the other person is going to feel. And this also doesn't mean that, which takes us to the third point, it also doesn't mean a reconciliation with the person who hurt us or condoning of their actions. What you are after is to find peace, and the peace is something that will come from you to someone else. Oh, Kiki, but I really wish that person to forgive me, and I did everything. I did this, I did that, I spoke to this person, I apologize, and the person is still not forgiving me. Each one of us have free will to decide what to do. And this is not your journey anymore. And I know that sometimes it may hurt, but this is also part of our journey. So I remember, I think that I shared this already with some of my friends, but I knew a person, and she had 11 sons and daughters. And one of them just became a drug addicted. And she was trying to help him to get rid of this addiction, and he couldn't make it. There was this point that he got in jail, and she used to go there and visit him very often. And at some point, he started asking her for money. And she's like, "Son, I cannot give you money. I don't have money." But she gave the first time and said, "Do not ask me again. I won't be able to keep sustaining you." Second time, he asked again and said, "Mom, I really need the money because I own very dangerous people." And she gave again and said, "Son, this is the last time. I cannot keep doing this for you. You have to forgive yourself. You have to forgive myself. And then you have to work on how you build your healthy relationship without drugs." And of course it was hard because the environment where he was not supportive to that, right? Well, he asked for the third time, and she didn't give the money. She's like, "Son, I love you with all my heart, but I can't." And he said, "Mom, so I'm going to die." And she said, "Go in peace." She blessed him, and the next day he died. And I know it doesn't look like a real story, but it was. And she suffered with that because she couldn't forgive herself. She was like, "Did I do wrong?" And you know how she decided to forgive herself for what she did? She said, "I am going to take care of those who didn't have a mom to help them in this journey." So she started working on charity for children that were orphans. And that helped her to feel peace. That helped her to find the forgiveness that she wasn't able to give to herself. So sometimes that reconciliation doesn't necessarily come from the relationship that you have directly with the person that hurt you or that you hurt. But that reconciliation comes, it is between you and yourself towards something that means really much for you. And I think that is really inspiring. So the fourth point that he brings to us is to get the right perspective on what is happening. Recognize that your primary distress is coming from the hurt feelings, thoughts, and physical upset you are suffering now, not what offended you 2 minutes or 10 years ago. What is interesting is that very often what we do is we fantasize something. As we were discussing a couple of slides ago, sometimes something happened to us either 2 minutes or 10 years ago, and we keep bringing that back over and over. So what is hurting us is not the situation, because the situation is gone, but the emotion that we are carrying, the poison that we are carrying over and over. And when we get the right perspective, we are able to understand that what we are feeling is just a tale from everything that happened in the past. And that's not going to help us anyhow. Because as Chico Xavier said, nobody can go back and make it different, but we can make it different from now on. And that's up to us. So it is up to us to decide who we want to be. Forgive ourselves for who we were, but decide now who we want to be tomorrow. So this is extremely important for the forgiveness steps. The fifth tip that Dr. Fred gives to us is that at the moment you feel upset, practice a simple distress management technique to soothe your body's flight or fight response. This is really interesting because the flight response is when you just fly away from the situation and then again you bury the emotion, you do not deal with that anymore. And the fight response is when you just get in conflict with the situation, the person or the situation. And I love a tip that Chico Xavier gave about this very specific moment, which is water. Drink water. Just put water in your mouth until you feel comfortable again for you to speak something. And if you are still very upset, so don't say anything. I'll just share with you how I do whenever I'm in a meeting and someone just does something in my work. This is how I do. I keep the water in my mouth until I calm down. I don't allow myself to say anything because I know that if I do, I will be fighting the response, not really responding what I want. And it's okay. It's fine for all of us to give ourselves a moment for us to digest something. And we should feel comfortable to say, I need a moment for me to digest the situation. I don't want to speak about this now, or leave me alone, allow me to think, and give yourself time for you to distress, for you to manage your emotions. This is very much connected to something that turned out to be kind of a very fancy and buzzword, which is called emotional intelligence. Nothing more than we know how to manage our own emotions. So if we know those triggers, we can kind of stop them or manage those emotions in a way, or manipulate our emotions in a way that will help us instead of just put us in trouble. So this is a very interesting tip. The other piece of advice that he gives us is to give up expecting things from other people on your life that they do not choose to give you. This is hard. Recognize the unforeseeable rules you have for your health, such as how you or other people must behave. Remind yourself that you can hope for health, love, peace, and prosperity, and work hard to get them. If our expectations were broken because of someone, that's on us. The expectation is ours, it's not from anyone else. We created that. Oh, I was expecting the person to do this, this, and that, and he or she didn't. How can the other person be accountable for something that we were expecting? Of course that it doesn't mean that we shouldn't expect anything from anyone. Maybe we should, but what I'm trying to say is we have to be careful with the expectations that we put into someone or something, because that is just representing what we are willing. We are bringing to the situation our desires. And this is also related to what we are expecting from life. Sometimes we are just waiting life to respond to us in a very specific situation, and it doesn't come. And then we don't forgive ourselves, or we don't forgive God, because God is not answering to us as we were expecting. This is our expectations again. All we can do is to hope for health, work for it as much as we can, but work for us to love, to serve, to find peace, because this will lead us into a happier and calmer situation, prosperity, as they are saying. Put your energy into looking for another way to get your positive goals met than through the experience that has hurt you. Instead of mentally replaying your hurt, seek out new ways to get what you want. So again, in this case, we are talking about a situation that we are not being able to achieve for whatever reason, and that hurts us, because again, our expectations are not reaching out our goals. So then we get hurt, and every time we think about this goal, we will get hurt, because we are reassessing the same process. But when thinking about how we can forgive and let it go, in other words, resign to God, this is exactly when we start thinking, what can I do differently? And then thinking about those goals, I always encourage us just to ask ourselves, why? Why do we need this? Why do we need this? And this is going to help us to get to the root cause of our goal. And at some point, we will be able to find that at some layer of our goals, one of those layers are our prideful expectation. And we can achieve that goal into another way. And that will lead us into, again, more peaceful life. Tip number 8 was, remember that a life well lived is your best revenge. Instead of focusing on your wounded feelings and thereby giving the person who caused you pain power over you, learn to look for love, beauty, and kindness around you. Forgiveness is about personal power. I don't really like to think about revenge, because revenge is never good. Revenge is when we acknowledge that we want to reach to the other person. And what Spiritism is telling us is that we do not have to do that. We do not have to pay bad attitudes with bad behavior with bad behavior, but do it the other way around. And I do understand the intention here is to, whenever we live a very well life, this is a good answer. This is a good way for us to answer, I would say, or to respond to the person that hurt our feelings. Because at the end of the day, we are just doing our best and we are not getting offended by that person or that situation. And then the last tip from Dr. Fred is to amend your grievance story to remind you of the heroic choice to forgive. So, as you were saying, Gina, it takes a lot of courage for us to forgive someone. It's not easy. It's not an easy path. It's not something that only prayers is going to help us. It takes a lot of our inner will to do that.
Yeah, re-education.
Re-education. A lot of re-education. So it's not for us to take for granted if we feel like that's okay, because if we all reassess something from our life, we will be able to find whatever we have to forgive, either on ourselves or on others. So let us do that as soon as possible, because it's not an easy journey. Oops. And then Mahatma Gandhi brings us this amazing quote: "An eye for an eye will make the whole humanity blind." Of course. Imagine if each and all of us decide to just revenge and to just to make justice with our own hands, with our own needs. Everyone has different needs, everyone. And at the end of the day, we will just hurt each other. So that's really not a prosperous thinking. We must learn to forgive. We must learn to forgive.
Yeah, because that's a clear road to serious destruction.
That's true, sister. That's absolutely.
Yeah, there's no forgiveness there. There's no understanding. There's no love. And it's also a vicious cycle, to get hung up in an eye for an eye. And he's right. The whole humanity would be blind and no education would ever come out of that.
And I think that education, sister, is something so important what you're saying, because it's not only about the education, it's the moral education, right? Like, of course, that we are talking about, it's not only moral, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, it's moral, it's emotional education. Those things about, and I always think about things that we learn when we are young, not only because I have now to start paying attention to that, how to educate a small one, but also I remember seeing situations that, I don't know, someone bite someone in the school, and then very often I would hear, "Bite them back." I'm like, ooh. We are teaching them to bite them back. Imagine how all of this will become emotions and how you learn to nurture this type of emotion towards the other. And I know this is very, very small, but this is going to be, this can escalate according to where we go and what type of life we live. So we must be very careful, and especially with the type of education that we are giving to those who are coming after us. So let me see. I think that I will leave this other piece for us to talk next week, if that's okay.
Okay, that's fine.
Is that fine?
Right here, yeah, forgiveness and how to release toxic emotions. Yeah, that's perfect.
Because this is another proposal from.
That looks like Deepak Chopra. Is that who that is?
Yes, that's exactly who he is.
Yeah.
Deepak Chopra. That's exactly who he is. And then he brings to us some perspective on how to forgive. Which are the steps for us to forgive?
Today was the day that he died.
You get out of
not
here.
Deepak. No, not Deepak. Sorry. I'm getting him mixed up with Tupac. Tupac was today was the 25th anniversary of Tupac's death. Sorry.
Oh, really?
Tupac. Yeah.
Oh, okay. The
Okay.
poet. Okay. Mhm.
But yeah, but this one is gonna be very interesting as well. So I will leave this one for us to talk next week if that's fine.
Yeah.
Um, one thing that I just wanted to share about a personal experience and how difficult it was for me to forgive. I used to work in a company, and then I had this boss, and he was very rough on me every single day. He would give me such a hard time in so many different ways. And that's how I learned about the water, because I was always very ready to fight. I was always very argumentative about so many things, especially about my work. Um, that created such a toxic environment for me and for everyone else that I didn't know what to do anymore.
Mhm.
Well, gladly I came across this beautiful speech from Chico Xavier, and he taught me about the water thing. And that changed my life so many different ways, because I was able not only to properly hear, but also to hear my thoughts, which is something that I had never done in the past. I I started noticing how harsh I was on him in my thoughts. So I was feeding all of that situation just by thinking, you are dumb, you don't know what you're saying, I hate you, what you do to me is not fair. I was still battling with him mentally.
Mhm.
And when I was able to start drinking water and I started noticing my thoughts, I was like, I don't want to be that person. So
Mhm.
the first step was I have to forgive myself, because this is who I am right now. This is not who I want to be tomorrow. So what can I do for me to be different tomorrow? And that reminds me about Saint Augustine telling us, review your attitudes every night and pray, so then the mentors can support you in your transformational journey. And I noticed that every single day that I would go to work with my blessed water, I would stay calmer and calmer. And at some point, my thoughts were in silence. And then I got calmer, and then my change changed the environment. And my change changed the way that he would approach me.
Mhm.
Long
Yeah.
story short, we are friends now.
Yeah, that's what they say happens actually.
It
You wish
happened.
them well, you pray for them, and it reverses everything,
Yeah.
you know. Even the little girl that, my niece here that runs around here told me about a little boy that just, yeah, I hate you. That's what he would come up to her and say, just say the ugliest things to her. And it just disturbed her. And I said, just keep sending him love. Just keep saying in your mind, I love you, and send him love. And I asked her one day, how's it going? She said, oh, we're okay now.
That's beautiful.
You know how kids are. They're mean today, not tomorrow. So the relationship got a lot better.
See, but that's it, sister. Whenever we change, we are able to be the change that we want to see in the world. So,
True. Yeah. Okay, you better
all
get
right.
going.
Yes. Do you want to do the closing prayer, Gina?
Sure. Let's close our eyes. And in this moment, let's imagine that we are in the light of our Lord Jesus Christ and in his embrace. As we open our heart and our mind, and we thank you, dear Jesus, for all your teachings and for the teachings that you have allowed others to comprehend and bring back to us. Thank you so much, dear Jesus. And may you continue to open our minds to understand even more. We ask that you bless us tonight as we rest, and bless us to accept more of each other. And we give thanks to each other for being here. And may you bless the closing of our study today. Thank you so much. And so be it.
Thank you so much.
Thank
sister. All right, everyone. So thank you so much. I see you all next Wednesday. I hope you have a blessed night.
Okay, good night.
Good night.
Good night. Bye bye. Bye, Mohsen. Bye, Shayla.
Good night, Sheila.
Kitty,
Thank you.
I had a question. Do you
Oh.
have your lecture? Do you have a description in paper that I can read it myself again?
I have these slides that I can send it to you if that is helpful. Yeah, oh
I
yeah, we
appreciate
do
that.
have. No, I do have. I actually have that. Yes, I do.
Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Of course. I have to go now, but I will text to you so then you can send me your email, and then I can send it to you. Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Of course.
Very
Love
good.
you,
Because
brother.
I need for somebody and it will help. Can I give to somebody else? Because it's for somebody else I want to give
Yes.
it to him.